Congratulations. If this message reaches you before August 29th, I need you to pause and recognize this moment. This is not just another video. This is not just another message scrolling by. This is divine timing. You are not here by accident. There is something shifting in the spirit, and God wants you to know before the breakthrough happens. Because if you can catch this revelation now, if you can discern the season before it fully reveals itself, then what's coming will not surprise you. It will confirm everything he whispered in the quiet. You've been asking God for a sign. You've been wrestling with time, waiting for something to break open. And maybe you've even questioned if you're behind schedule, if you missed it. But God is saying, no, you're not late. You're not lost. You're not overlooked. You're early on purpose. This word is your divine indicator. And August 29 is not just a date. It's a spiritual check. Something is being aligned in your favor right now. And your obedience, your posture, your preparation, it matters now more than ever. Let me speak to the one who has grown weary. You've been sowing in tears, but harvest doesn't come when you're watching the clock. It comes when heaven says, now. And the reason this message found you before August 29 is because now is the time to prepare for the shift. What God has planned is already in motion. You don't have to strive for it. You have to position yourself for it. Because if your posture doesn't match your prophecy, you will delay what was meant to be delayed. Prophetic preparation precedes divine release. There is a difference between expecting a promise and preparing for it. So many of us declare what we're waiting on God for, but we don't understand that heaven responds to readiness, not just desire. God is not moved by how badly you want it. He is moved by how faithfully you prepare for it. Prophetic words are not passive. They are assignments. And when God gives you a word, especially one tied to timing, that word carries the weight of responsibility. It demands alignment. You can't step into a new season with the habit, the mindset, and the spiritual posture of your old one. When God tells you before something happens, it's because he's giving you time to shift internally before he shifts things externally. That's mercy. That's strategy. That's divine love. He's saying, I'm about to move, but I need you to be in position when I do. And for that, preparation is not optional. It's evidence of faith. If August 29 marks something significant in the spirit, and I believe it does, then these days leading up to it are not casual. They are sacred. What you do in secret now will echo loudly in your next season. The way you pray, the way you fast, the way you obey, even when no one is watching, it all matters. Because the future you're praying for is responding to your current posture. Some of us want overflow, but our containers are cracked. We want elevation, but we haven't submitted to refinement. And so God speaks ahead of time because he wants to ensure that when the door opens, we're ready to walk through it. Preparation is not glamorous. It often looks like pruning, discipline, letting go of distractions, or even ending conversations that don't align with where you're going. But if you treat this season casually, you will enter the next one confused. What separates those who hear a word from those who live it is preparation. And it's not just about physical readiness, it's spiritual maturity. Can God trust you with the thing you've been praying for? Can he trust that you'll steward the opportunity, the relationship, the calling without compromising your character? These are the questions we must sit with. Because the promise is not just about arrival, It's about stewardship. God wants to release, but he won't pour into hands that are full of idols. So he gives us prophetic insight, not for information, but for transformation. Let this be your wake-up call. Let this word stir you to move. Let it pull you into alignment, because prophetic preparation is the evidence that you're expecting God to do what he said. And if he gave you this message before August 29, that means heaven is inviting you into action. Discernment is the bridge between delay and destiny. You can't afford to move based on emotion in a season that demands revelation. Discernment isn't just about knowing the difference between good and evil. It's about knowing the difference between God and almost God. It's about sensing the difference between a good opportunity and a God-ordained assignment. When you are on the edge of a divine shift, clarity becomes your most powerful currency. Too often people miss the moment because they were waiting for the obvious. But God rarely moves in the obvious. He moves in ways that require you to listen closely, lean in, and trust his whisper over the noise. Discernment is what tells you when to say yes, when to walk away, when to speak, and when to stay silent. Without it, you'll interpret delay as denial. You'll call wilderness seasons punishment when they're actually preparation. Discernment doesn't just guide your steps, it guards your spirit. Between now and August 29, your discernment must be sharpened. You don't have time to be confused. You don't have time to entertain voices that don't speak from heaven, because the enemy is subtle. He'll present counterfeit confirmations. He'll distract you with things that feel urgent but aren't eternal. He'll bring you opportunities that look like favor but are actually detours. This is why your spirit must stay sensitive. You can't go off of how things look. You have to ask God what they are. There's a reason Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray before making major decisions. He understood that clarity comes in silence. Many of us are asking for answers, but we're not creating space to receive them. Discernment requires intentional stillness. It requires a surrendered ear. You can't be led by God if you're only listening to the loudest voice in the room. And often, that voice is your own fear. You must train yourself to hear beyond your feelings. Some of you are standing at the threshold of destiny, but your next move depends on your ability to recognize what God is doing, not what you hope he'd do. The blessing you're waiting on may already be in the room, but you've got to discern it. And when you do, don't hesitate. Destiny doesn't wait for indecision. There is a version of you on the other side of August 29. That requires you to be spiritually precise. You can't afford to guess. You had to know. This is the time to pray. Lord, sharpen my discernment. Make me sensitive to your voice. Reveal what's sent by you and expose what's not. Because when you carry discernment, you don't just move fast, you move right. You begin to step in rhythm with heaven, not just in sync with the calendar. And that's how you move from delay into divine alignment. You don't force it, you follow it. And discernment is how you know when the time is now. The time between now and August 29 is not waiting time, it's working time. This season is not passive. It's not a holding pattern. It's not a delay. It's a divine window, and heaven is watching what you do with it. Many of us confuse waiting on God with doing nothing. But waiting biblically has never been about inactivity. It's always been about alignment. It's working in the spirit. It's preparing, planting, positioning. It's partnering with God while trusting him with the pace. When God reveals a specific time or date, he's not just informing you, he's activating you. He's saying, I'm moving, but your movement is part of the miracle. Some doors won't open unless you knock. Some strategies won't unfold unless you start walking. This is the season where your feet must match your faith. It's time to build, to clean house, to restructure, to eliminate distractions, because your future is responding to what you're faithful with right now. Many of you are expecting a supernatural shift, but you're not stewarding the space you already have. And God is not going to promote what you're not willing to manage. He's not going to increase what you haven't been willing to organize. So this stretch before August 29 isn't about sitting and hoping. It's about stepping and obeying. If you want God to trust you with more, show him that you can be consistent with what's already in your hands. Work in silence, work in discipline, work in obedience. This is your preparation ground. Don't despise it. Don't dismiss it because it doesn't look like the promise yet. Sometimes the most anointed seasons don't feel prophetic. They feel ordinary. They feel like routines, like pruning, like repetition. But heaven moves through obedience, not excitement. It's not about how hyped you feel. It's about how faithful you are. Every quiet act of obedience between now and that date is writing your next chapter. There's a grace on this window of time to get things in order, to finish what you started, to release what's expired, to forgive what's been holding your heart hostage. Don't take this lightly. What feels small right now is actually seed. And what you plant in these weeks will determine what harvest meets you in the next season. Don't mistake stillness for stagnation. Even when it looks like nothing is happening, God is watching how you move behind the scenes. This is also a season to revisit instructions. What did God already tell you to do that you haven't done yet? What was the last clear word he gave you that you've been postponing, questioning, or avoiding? Go back and do that. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. You're not waiting on another confirmation. You've been given time to act on what you've already received. Heaven is not silent, it's strategic. And the strategy right now is movement. It's action. It's putting your hands to the assignment before the announcement arrives. If you respond in fear, you'll miss what's being delivered in faith. Fear always shows up right before fulfillment. Why? Because the enemy knows when heaven is about to move, and he wants to distract you before you can discern what God is actually doing. Fear will always sound logical. It will sound responsible. It will speak in the voice of reason. But make no mistake, fear is not a protector, it's a thief. It robs you of divine timing. It delays destiny. And it camouflages itself as caution just long enough to talk you out of obedience. God didn't bring you this far to embarrass you. He didn't call you to the edge of breakthrough so you could run back to comfort. Every time you're about to cross into something new, fear will present you with the safest option. And the safest option is almost never the faith option. It's the one that feels familiar. But God doesn't operate in the realm of familiarity. He stretches, he calls, he invites us to step into things we can't control so that his glory is undeniable when it manifests. Fear is not just an emotion, it's a lens. If you're seeing your future through fear, then everything will look like a threat. The promise will look too big. The opportunity will feel like a setup. The new connection will seem suspicious. But when you view your life through faith, you see through heaven's filter. You don't deny the risk. You recognize the grace. Faith doesn't ignore fear. It confronts it with authority. It says, yes, I see the risk, but I trust the instruction more than the obstacle. Between now and August 29, fear will try to talk you out of movement. It will tell you that you're not ready, not equipped, not qualified. It will remind you of what didn't work last time. It will magnify the unknown, but listen carefully. If fear is loud, it means faith is near, because fear always intensifies right before God does something undeniable. And your job is not to feel brave. It's to obey anyway. Obedience doesn't require the absence of fear. It requires the presence of faith. What is God asking you to do in this season that doesn't make sense? What step is he requiring that feels risky, inconvenient, or even scary? That's your place of breakthrough. That's where the oil is. Because God doesn't meet you at the place of your comfort. He meets you at the place of your yes. And the enemy knows that if he can get you to delay your yes, he can interfere with your divine timeline. So you must decide now how you will respond. Will you let fear narrate the story, or will you silence it with faith? Will you shrink back or step forward? Because one thing is certain, something is being delivered. A shift is already in motion. Heaven is not waiting to see if you're afraid. Heaven is waiting to see if you move anyway. God uses the unknown to unlock the unexpected. If you could predict every part of your journey, you wouldn't need faith. You'd only need a plan. But God is not limited to your logic. He's not bound by your timelines, your 5-year strategies, or your comfort zones. He is the God who creates something out of nothing. And often his greatest moves begin in the unknown. That's why he doesn't always give you all the detail. Because if you knew everything in advance, you might try to control what he's trying to reveal. There is a blessing wrapped in what you can't explain right now. The uncertainty is not punishment, it's preparation. When God leads you into the unknown, he's stripping away your dependence on everything but him. He's training your spirit to lean not on clarity, but on trust. And trust is what gives you the strength to move even when your eyes don't see the full picture. You're not in the dark. You're being developed. You're not lost. You're being led. And sometimes the confusion is divine. Sometimes the unfamiliar is exactly where God wants you. Because if you only follow what's familiar, you'll never walk into what's fresh. He's doing a new thing. And new things often come in strange packages. The unknown is not the absence of God's presence. It's the incubator of his promise. So many people resist the unknown because it feels like instability. But what if the unknown is actually God protecting you from stepping into something too soon? What if he's concealing details to develop your dependence? This is why you can't panic when things don't look like what you expected. God specializes in the unexpected. He uses unusual methods to produce undeniable results. He uses strange instructions to release supernatural outcomes. Think about how he told Joshua to march instead of fight. How he told Gideon to downsize his army. How he told Noah to build before rain had ever existed. You don't have to understand the method to trust the one who gave the instruction. And if you're walking through a season where things feel foggy, unclear, or unpredictable, it's not time to retreat. It's time to lean in. Because the unknown is sacred ground. It's the space where your faith matures. It's where your roots go deep. It's where you learn that peace is not found in control, but in surrender. Between now and August 29, God may not give you all the answers, but he will give you peace. He may not show you the whole map, but he will order your next step, and that's enough. Because unexpected breakthroughs are born in uncharted places. And if you stay faithful in the fog, you will emerge into something you didn't even know to ask for. The unexpected blessing, the unseen promotion, the quiet breakthrough. It's forming where you least expect it.